Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Michael, and welcome to the Kaizen Podcast, where we talk about industrial engineering principles and apply it in our everyday lives. This is the first episode of this podcast, and I would like to give a brief introduction on what this podcast is all about. First, let's define what is industrial engineering, sir, since we will talk about industrial engineering a lot in this podcast. For me, industrial engineering is about process engineering. In the simplest definition, we engineer process. So that's basically what we do. We engineer the process. So if civil engineering deals with engineering infrastructures and electrical engineering deals with engineering electrical systems, mechanical engineering deals with engineering machines, then industrial engineering deals with engineering process. And unlike the other engineering programs, industrial engineering deals with the less tangible part and is actually very flexible because everything around us is composed of different processes. So, for example, in a company, when you cost a project, and that's what I do now, when you cost a project that is made up of several processes. So, step one, you check the specs of the project. Step two, you prepare the cost sheet for the project. And step three, etc., etc. It's a process. You cannot go to the second step without doing the first step. And when you're at home also, for example, when you are cooking, you take steps also. It is a process. So step one, you buy the ingredients. Step two, you prepare the cooking equipment. Step three, you heat the pan, and so on, depending on what you want to cook. What else? For example, when you wake up in every morning, first step is you go out of the bed, you wake up. Then step two, you fix your bed. Then step three, wash your face, etc., etc., depending on your routine. But the same is true with the costing process and the way you wake up or the way you cook. It is made up of several steps. It is a process. And since industrial engineering deals with engineering processes, and we have these processes that we do every day in our lives, then maybe we can use those concepts in industrial engineering in our lives. And that, my friends, is what this podcast is about. And on our first episode, we will be talking about the concept of Kaizen. Exactly the title of this podcast, the Kaizen Podcast. And I'll explain later why I chose to call this podcast as such. So while you listen, always think about how can you possibly apply these concepts in your life. So let's start. To understand the concept of Kaizen, let's go to Japan. So after World War II, Japan has recognized that there is a need to amp up the quality of the products that they manufacture. And two prominent quality leaders or quality lecturers from the Western side, the US, went to Japan to provide a session of lectures to the manufacturers there. Those are W. Edwards Deming and Joseph M. Joran. They set out and conducted a series of lectures to almost 140 chief executive officers and large manufacturers in Japan. And that specific lecture, those session of lectures, sparked a quality revolution never seen in the world before. Japan took over the US market with the quality products that they manufacture, and this resulted to the death of a lot of large US manufacturers. And one of the most prominent Japanese manufacturers that did this is Toyota. And I know that everyone is familiar with that company. You know that Toyota is a very large company and still prominent today. So Toyota is having problems in productivity. There are lots of issues on productivity on their processes. So what they did is to create this group of people called the quality circle. A quality circle is composed of a group of workers who met regularly, and their job is to identify the problems, analyze the process, and then think of ways on how the problem. And regularly, these workers meet together, they list problems, they brainstorm, and then solve this problem. So, for example, they look for parts in the production line in Toyota. Of course, they are making cars, right? They look for certain parts in the production line that is low in productivity, for example. So this quality circle, they meet, and they talk about this low productivity areas and talk about how the problem came to be. So for example, there is this line where the workers need to manually move the parts to the next workstation. So they think of ways on how to improve that, on how to solve the problem of manually carrying because it affects productivity. So they brainstorm, they think of solutions. For example, the solution is to provide a cart where they will put the parts into the cart and then push it into the next workstation. So that solves the problem of manually carrying the parts, and they can move the parts in bulk because they are now using cart. So problem solved, right? Not yet. You see, the quality circle is not a one-time event. As we said earlier, the workers meet regularly to check for further improvement. They will not be contented in fixing the problem, in just fixing one problem. They will always ask, can we improve it further? And this is how the concept of Kaizen originated. Kaizen is made up of two words. First, Kai. These are Japanese words, by the way. Kai means change, and Zen, which means good. Or if we put them together, it means change for the better. So for Kaizen, we will not stop just by solving one problem because there is always a room for improvement. Kaizen thus means continuous improvement. So going back to our example, under Kaizen, we will not be contented with just the cart solution. Productivity can further be increased, right? How? By, let's say, maybe joining the two workstations together. So the parts can just be pushed, and not and the process of, or the step of putting the parts into the cart will be eliminated, and thus reducing the takt time or the cycle time, right? Or maybe we can further improve that by just putting a conveyor line. The workers will no longer need to push the parts because the conveyor line will do the task for them, right? And that solution, the conveyor solution, can still be further improved. That's the concept of Kaizen. This concept is great, and I personally love this concept because not only is it very effective in any type of system, but it can also be implemented in our own lives. So Kaizen has different principles under it. It is an umbrella of different principles. And I just picked 5 of the concepts of Kaizen and choose this 5 as these 5 are the most applicable in our lives. And let's run through these 5 concepts of Kaizen. First, the first concept that I would like to implement in my life is improve everything continuously. That's the first concept. Improve everything continuously. There's always a room for improvement, as we said earlier. There is no such thing as a perfect system. Like on our example with the carrying cart, and then uh, putting the workstation together, and then doing the conveyor line. There is always something better. There is always an improvement, right, that can be done, because there is nothing constant in this world except for change. There will always be a new technology or a new trend that will appear. There will always be a new idea. You just have to find it. You just have to think of it. And this applies to our lives as well. Think about all the things that you thought that you cannot do before, but you are doing seamlessly now. Think about the things you are doing today. What can you still improve in your work? What can you still improve in your cooking? How can you sing better? How can you reduce your electricity bill? This surely are things you can do now, and even the littlest thing to improve, you can do it every single day. So do not be afraid to take a step into improving oneself and the things that surround you every day. These processes, we must see these processes in order for us to improve. Just little improvements, even the smallest steps, can lead you to the top, little by little. So in everything we do, we just have to make sure that we do it better than the last time we did it. That's the first concept: continuous improvement. The second concept is this: abolish old traditional concepts. Have you heard the saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it? Meaning, if there is something that you think are doing well already, you'll do it the same way before, because there's no room for improvement. So this concept defeats continuous improvement. So let's abolish this old tradition. So for example, a good example is looking at our refrigerator. How old is our ref? 5 years? 7 years? Yes, some of us even higher than that, even older than that. Yes, the refrigerator can still do its job, which is to cool the food that we put inside it. But how is the energy consumption of the refrigerator? How is the carbon footprint that it generates? In the past 15 years, the refrigerators are constantly evolving. And in the past 15 years, the refrigerators today have improved in terms of energy efficiency by 72%. That's very large. That's a very large percentage. It improved 72%, meaning it saved money every year. And if you replace your ref with a new one today, you can save about 6,000 pesos in a year in energy consumption. And you can also do your part in saving the environment by reducing your carbon footprint. Another example is your relationship with your special someone. Of course, you will not just settle for the adequate. If you do the same thing over and over again from the first day you met until now, of course, you don't want that kind of relationship, right? You don't want that kind of love. You need to do better every time to keep the love burning. So do not settle for the adequate. Instead of saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, why not say, if it isn't broken, improve it? That's the second concept: abolish old traditional concepts. The third one is, before making decisions, ask the why questions to get the root cause. That's the keyword: root cause. Before we solve any problem, we must find the root cause first, because solving the root cause will solve most of the problem. Think of a sudden, think of a garden that has a lot of weed growing. It certainly does not look good, right? So then you trim the weed using garden scissors. So it looks good now, right? Everything's good look. Everything's good now, right? It certainly looks so, but if you only cut the stem of the weed will grow again in no time, which you need to cut again. Over and over again, you will do this process just to remove the weed. But if you remove the weed from its roots, right? From by its roots, if you remove it, the weed will never grow again. We should look at the problem solving this way. Once the root of the problem has been removed, its effects will also be removed, right? And one of the things we can do to find the root cause is to continuously ask why. Right? Let's continuously ask why. Let's set as an example, not doing your homework in school. Let's set that as an example. If we try the 5 why method, right? Let's ask ourselves 5 whys. First, why? Why are you not doing your homework? Answer, I don't know how to do it. Why don't you know how to do it? I haven't really paid attention to class. Why don't you do it? I haven't really paid attention to class. Why haven't you paid attention to class? Because I'm sleepy. Why are you sleepy? Because I haven't slept early last night. Why haven't you slept early last night? Because I played too much games. Then that's the problem. Playing too much games. You can now do the next step, which is thinking of ways on how to solve it. And how to solve the problem of procrastination. And how to reduce playing too much games. So imagine if we have not done the 5 why method. Imagine if we start solving at I don't know how to do it. You might think of ways on how to solve it. And one of the ways that you might think on how to solve it is to ask for your classmates' notes, or to review again, or to ask for your classmate to help you on that homework. So you might think that you have solved the problem for now, but if the root cause is still being done every single night, you will still need to ask for other people to help you every single time. Now, for some problems, we can find the root cause after 5 whys. For some we can find it in 3. For some, we might need more than 5 whys to find the root cause of the problem. The tip here is to just don't stop in asking whys until you found the root cause. That's the 4th concept. Find the root cause first by asking the why questions. Right? Now let's get to that's the 3rd concept. Let's get to the 4th concept, which is get information and opinions from multiple people. Get help from the expert. You cannot do everything on your own, right? We might be expert for some things, but we are not experts on everything. We need knowledge to do more things. This is why trainings and seminars are very useful, especially now that we are in the pandemic. There are lots of online classes that we can join. For example, you wanted to improve your belly. You might be getting fat, right? Lack of exercise. And you think that lack of exercise is the root cause of the problem, so you solve it. And I recommend that do not go into doing abdominal crunches just because you think that is effective. Actually, research suggests that crunches is not effective in losing belly fat alone. So when you exercise, the fat in your body will be reduced proportionally. Right? So that means that you can lose belly fat not just by crunches, but using less tedious exercises. And you will not know that without getting information. So it is always best to learn from the expert, but if not accessible, the internet is just one click away. And the 5th concept is this. empower everyone to take part in problem solving. Going back to the Toyota quality circle, we have mentioned that the circle is made up of several individuals. It is not just one person alone, meaning it is a team effort. More brains will generate more ideas, and that's why it is called brainstorming. So similarly, it would be great if more people can adapt the concept of process improvement, the concept of Kaizen. If this happens, more people with the same mindset will also be open for change, right? So buy-in will be easier. Everything will keep getting better and better if everyone is committed in doing so. So these are the 5 concepts of Kaizen that I want to use in my life. So those 5 concepts are really great. They are very flexible and they are very much applicable in our everyday lives. So as I've mentioned, this is the first time that I'm doing a podcast and I call it Kaizen because this is a product of me adhering to that principle. You know, I want to improve myself continuously in speaking using the English language. So I decided to do this project. And of course, this is not the concept of Kaizen applying in our lives, and also in for companies it is not 100% applicable to every company out there, to every process out there. Same as in life, not every concept is applicable for 100% of the situation, but in our decision making, the concept of Kaizen is very useful. So I recommend for everyone to use it to live a life with the concept of Kaizen or continuous improvement. So dear listeners, challenge yourselves to do something every day to improve yourselves, even just by a little. So I hope that I instilled something into you today, and if I have something you think I can further improve on this podcast, please feel free to let me know and I will gladly embrace it and think of ways on how to do it better. So, after all, everything can be improved, including this podcast. That's it, folks. So remember that if it isn't broken, improve it. Thank you for listening to the Kaizen Podcast. Once again, I am Michael, and let's see each other on our next episode. Thank you.